And I want to make this astronomically clear. It's not like the college football committee, they want to do this. It's not like they want to change things. They have to change things. Wow, pretty big day in the college football world. You would think, it's the middle of the week, it's Wednesday, not too much is going on, and you'd also be sadly mistaken. We got not one but two pretty big topics to speak on in today's video, but I'd say the main topic without a shadow of a doubt in my mind is the college football playoff. It's changing. Yeah, that's right, you heard me correctly. The CFP, the college football playoff, whatever you want to call it, it's changing. Did I repeat myself there? Yes, but whatever. We're just going to roll with it. I do need to throw this disclaimer in there. You shouldn't be shocked by this because we knew this was going to happen. The main reason this is changing is because of the, I guess you'd say, the destruction of the Pac-12. Is that the right word to use, destruction? That's what I'm going to use. It's so sad to see the Pac-12 fall apart, at least from my perspective, because this year has arguably been their best year in probably like 10 or so years. I know it's early on in the season, but they got 6 to 7, 8 good teams. We're going to talk all about that in today's video. And another big topic that is going on, I do think it's worth mentioning and talking about, is that Texas A&M starting quarterback, he is out for the year. That's a devastating blow considering Texas A&M, they don't look all too hot. And really it doesn't matter how good you look. Anytime a Power 5 school loses their starting quarterback almost in the middle of the season, yeah, that's a detrimental loss. Those are the two big topics we're going to talk about in today's video. Hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. All right, Matt, blah, blah, shut the crap up. Now without further ado, let's get into it. Ah, man, where do we want to start with this? Well, first things first, let's just get this Texas A&M news out of the way. We're not going to speak on it too long, but it's definitely worth talking about because it caught my attention earlier this morning. I don't really know how to ease into this. We're just jumping straight into it. The breaking news came out this morning that Texas A&M starting quarterback Conner Weigman, he's going to miss the remainder of the 2023 season with a foot injury. For those of y'all that don't know, to give you some context, he suffered this injury against Auburn. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't think it was a bad injury at the time. Maybe I was highly misinformed on it, but I just thought he'd miss a game or two. That was my immediate reaction to it. Maybe they stated somewhere in the Auburn game it was a bad one, but it didn't look bad from what I saw, and nobody was really thinking, at least from what I heard, it was going to be this bad. And first things first, not only is this a tough break for A&M, we'll get to them in just a second, but it's tough for him. I feel so bad for Weigman. As a former athlete myself, I tore both of my ACLs, and I know how devastating something like this can be. It's not fun, especially, and this is why I feel so bad for him, I have so much empathy and sympathy. This happened at the beginning of his season. He put in all that blood, work, sweat, and tears in the offseason, worked extremely hard, early mornings, late nights, and now it's over. It was almost like it was all for nothing. And I hate to say that, but it's reality. So yes, devastating loss for the team, but please keep Conner Weigman and his family in your thoughts and prayers. I know we all have our differences on the channel. We got different teams we have to go for, but you never like to see something like this happen. Sucks. Straight up sucks. Not another way to put it. Getting that out the way, as far as it goes for Texas A&M, the team, what's next? If you do want to take a positive out of this negative situation, the A&M offense against Auburn, they were struggling in the first half with Weigman being the starting quarterback. And then when the backup came in due to injury, Max Johnson, you all know him, right? The left-handed quarterback. The A&M offense, it looked better. Keep in the back of your mind, just because the A&M offense looked better with Max Johnson than they did with Weigman, that doesn't mean that's going to be the remedy or the storyline the rest of the season. Because I need to throw this out there. There's a reason Max Johnson wasn't starting in the first place. He's not better than Weigman. That's not to say he couldn't play good, but at least according to the coaching staff and Jimbo Fisher, Conner Weigman's your better option and your better choice. But here's your good news. Against Auburn, Max Johnson, I'll show you his numbers right here. 7 for 11, 123 passing yards with 2 touchdowns to 0 INTs. The good news about this situation is your backup is more than capable of winning you some games. I think we can all agree on that. And this is a rare situation to have because your backup quarterback now was your former starting quarterback. And honestly, this is just my honest opinion. I could be 103% wrong about this, but I think Max Johnson, I don't mean this as disrespect to Conner Weigman, he's not too far behind Conner Weigman. My point I'm trying to get across here, and we're going to get a move on, I don't think Johnson is a huge drop-off from Weigman. I don't think the A&M offense is going to suffer too much, but who knows? Maybe it will. Maybe Max Johnson, he's awful, and we'll see that in the up-and-coming weeks. But at least for now, if I was an A&M fan, I would somewhat be feeling okay about this. I'm extremely curious, A&M fans, let me know how you feel in the comment section. I would love to talk about that some more because it's a really intriguing situation, but we gotta move on to the main topic of the main encore, the main reason you clicked onto this video. What in the world is going on with the college football playoff? Well, first things first, as we all know, next year, not this year, let me clarify, next year, we are going to a 12-team format. Which, by the way, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. This is awesome. I love it. Similar to everybody else, I got tired of the 14 playoff and I want something new. I'm a man of change. I like it. And I also like it from this standpoint. Now, if your team has 2 losses or maybe even 3, you can still be fighting for something because you are going to see a 3-loss team get into a 12-team playoff. It is going to happen. And that's why it's awesome to me, because instead now when you lose 2 ball games, you're like, yeah, the season's over. It's not going to be like that. And to me, at least, it's going to encourage me and many others to watch games later in the season that we wouldn't probably be watching because there's no ramifications on the line. For example, last year, I think Oregon and Utah played later in the season, a top 15 matchup. It didn't matter, though, because they weren't going to make the 14 playoff. Whereas now, fast forward in time, if it's week 11 and you got number 14 Oregon playing number 13 Utah, yeah, that's going to be a playoff spot on the line. So you see what I'm saying from that standpoint. I just like it because it gives more teams an opportunity to get in. And also, it gives us more football. And hey, who doesn't like more football? But earlier today, ironically enough, around the same time the Connor Wigman news broke that the CFP committee, they are quote-unquote leaning to a 5+7 format for expanded playoff. If you don't know what this means, I will be gladly to explain it to you and why they're leaning towards this and why they're changing things. For starters, like I said in the intro, it has everything to do with the Pac-12, or what is now literally the Pac-2. And I want to make this astronomically clear. It's not like the college football committee, they want to do this. It's not like they want to change things. They have to change things. It is not a want at this point in time. This is a need. It's a must. And I'll explain why. Originally, the format they implemented a couple years ago, that was before the Pac-12 exploded. And what was that format, you may ask? It was a 6 auto bids and 6 at-large bids. Your 6 auto bids were going to go and belong to the top 6 highest-ranked conference champions. So more than likely, 5 out of those 6 were going to be from the Power 5, and you'd have one group of 5. But now with the Pac-12 not even being a conference anymore, it doesn't make sense to have that. And we all knew this was going to happen. We even talked about it throughout the offseason. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this was one of the scenarios I laid out for you guys. I said, hey, I think it's rather simple. Let's go to a 5-7 format, and it looks like that's what they're going to do. I mean, that was just the obvious answer and the simplest thing to do, right? Instead of saying 6-6, with the Pac-12 not being a part of the Power 5 anymore, it's just like, okay, we'll just go 5-7. That's fair. Because now what's going to happen, more than likely, is you're going to have 5 auto bids to your highest ranked conference champions, which more than likely 4 of those are going to go to the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and the SEC, and one other is going to go to the highest ranked group of 5 team. Remember though, and I do want to clarify this, the highest ranked ACC team isn't guaranteed a spot, and same thing for SEC, Big 12, and Big 10. We're just projecting that whoever wins these 4 conferences, the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and SEC, they're going to be highly ranked. In other terms, let me dumb this down. There's more than just 5 conferences. Continuing along here, outside of your 5 automatic bids, instead of 6 at-large spots, there's now, you know where I'm going with this, going to be 7. And that's where things get a little chippy, because to a lot of people I've already seen, they're saying that's way too many. To me, I don't understand the issue, and I don't understand the problem with it. As where it stands right now, not the ACC, but the AAC commissioner stated he likes the 5-7 format. Here's what he stated. I'm fine myself with the 5+7, assuming we stay at 12 teams. The 5+7 is something we really have to have, because otherwise, what's the point of all the work we did for 6+6? If there's no Pac-12, you got 4 power conferences, but you still want that 5th spot so that our group of 5, 65 schools, has a shot at the playoff. And yeah, I agree with him. I do want the group of 5 to get a shot at the playoff because it just spices things up, and I think they deserve it. Throw them in there, why not? Let them get mauled by some other team, and who knows, maybe they pull off the upset. It's going to be similar to March Madness. You're not going to pick Davidson to beat Duke, but it could happen. There's one thing for sure, though. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, and check out some of these comments. I'm just going to show you a couple of comments because there's already people fighting about the 12-team playoff, and we haven't even started it. Can't wait for an 8-4 BYU Big 12 winner getting in the playoff over a 10-2 SEC team with the losses against number 1 and 3. Terrence responded to it and said, that's how it works in the NFL. Division winners get an auto bid, sometimes screws over great wildcard teams trapped in a great division. Those are 2 really good comments, and I can see both sides of them. But to me, I'm also looking at it from this standpoint. you now have triple the opportunity in a couple years than you would this year. And I also don't see a scenario where a 10-2 SEC team who loses to number 1 and number 3 doesn't get into the playoff, especially a 12-team playoff. That's just not going to happen. But yeah, I definitely can see a case and scenario where a team in the SEC that doesn't get into the playoff is better than the winner of the Big 12. We saw it this year. The winner of the Big 12 got completely dominated by Alabama, who had 2 SEC losses. And to go on top of that, I stated since day one, does anybody actually believe TCU last year was better than Alabama? No! Nobody believed that, but I told you up front that I think TCU deserved to be in the playoff over Bama. Bama didn't win the games in a clutch moment. They had their chances and they blew it. But it is also a really tricky argument because the goal of the playoff, and this is according to them, not me, is to get the quote-unquote best 4 teams. And I'm not trying to talk about last year, but I'm just bringing it up since we're talking about the playoff. I don't think anybody in that committee room thought TCU was a better football team than Alabama. Nobody actually believed that. You just had to put TCU in there because they deserve to be there. They earned it. I don't have a problem with it. I'm just telling you my thought process. I can't believe it, man. 12-team playoff format ain't even here and we're already arguing about it. And I love it. That's what college football is all about. But on a serious note, let me know what y'all think about this. You in favor of it or you not? To me, it doesn't really change anything. We just took away one automatic bid and gave it to an at-large spot. I like it. Why not? It's big news. Anytime there's changes to a playoff, it has to be talked about. But I'm curious. Let me know your thoughts down below. But,